Hello, everyone. Welcome to Mumming and Thriving. Today, we have a special guest. We have Energetic E.J in the house. I had to give you an energetic welcome. Welcome to Mumming and Thriving. It's such an honor to have you here. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for having me on your show.
So, EJ, I met you recently. I met you through a very close friend of mine, and your name literally is how you are in person. You're full of energy, you're always encouraging. And I knew straight away that I wanted you to come on and be a blessing to our listeners. So, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us what you're about? Just give us a little bit about your bio.
Okay, a little bit, just a little witty bit. All right, guys, this is the Energetic E.J. My name is Ejiro Osakede. I'm Nigerian from Delta State, but I am this energetic woman because my energy is my superpower. So anywhere you see me, I sprinkle some dust of positive vibes in form of positive energy, and that's why I'm called the Energetic E.J. It's a blessing that I didn't know existed. At least it was existing, but I didn't know the name for it. But the moment I gave it the name for it in 2020, it has stuck, it is affirming, and every time somebody says Energetic EJ, it feels like the name comes alive again in who I am. So it's my pleasure to be here. I do a couple of things. I wear many hats, as I would say it. I'm a singer, an audio engineer by training. I'm a speaker. I'm a podcaster as well. I'm a trainer. And I am finally adding another feather as a coach fully. So I've been coaching for a while, in and out, as support coaching and there. But now I am fully stepping into my power as a coach, So, and that's one thing that I'm pushing forward right now. So if you want to say, what are the two major things that are being pushed forward for? I'm a coach and I'm a podcaster. So as a coach, I coach women and also coach people who want to use their voices, hence what we will be talking about today on the show.
I told you guys she was full of energy. Look at that introduction. There was no way I could have done that as much justice as you have. So thank you so much for being here today. Let's just take it all the way back. Can you tell us a little bit about your formative years?
So I'm one of those people that would say that I was not born with any spoon at all. Neither silver nor plastic or wooden. But yes, I'm grateful to God. But I think I'm also a special child because I opened the door for my younger ones to come in. And for that reason, my dad loved me to bits. God rest his beautiful, generous soul. But I came in, I think, after they waited for like 10 to 11 years. So I'm like that special door opener. So my dad didn't joke with me at all. Right. So, but, they both of them, my mom is still here. God bless her for me, my prayer warrior, my backbone, my everything. But both of them were not very educated. So I would say that they were semi-literate because like Form 6 kind of thing, that was where the education stopped. And so they didn't know better when it comes to education to be able to guide us in the right direction. But one gift that they both had for us was the gift of liberty. Because they didn't know better, they also did not stick to their small-mindedness or to like say, oh, you have to do this, or to say, okay, because everybody is being a doctor, a scientist, you have to, no. They were like, they didn't know better. But at the same time, they weren't like too stiff on what we wanted to be. They allowed us to dream wide. Like, okay, what do you want to be? Whatever it is. I mean, as far as we can, afford it, let's go for it. But yes, life happens, being from a family that is not that well established financially. So it was a bit of a struggle growing up. I had to, at some point, I had to drop out of secondary school at the final stage. My dad lost his job just before the millennium hit. And so I couldn't do my final exam. Like I was sent out of class on the day we're supposed to write our exams. And so I didn't go back again. And that was how I just, got into the workforce because I then, assumed the position of being the breadwinner, taking care of my family at that young age. And so that has been the history, right? So just being there, it felt like I grew up very fast and I started to take responsibility very fast. And, life dealt me all the blows you can think of. But one thing I would say I'm grateful for in those formative years is one, that liberty to be able to kind of own my own thing, to dig within and say, okay, what is this thing that is calling out for me? I might not have had the right guidance at the time or the opportunity to zone into those things, but I knew they were there. And so I feel like just knowing that they were there has also been a guiding factor as I grew and as I got into opportunities and as I started to make some funds, to guide me. The only thing I wish I had latched onto earlier on in life was to know that if I had invested more in myself, I'll be more equipped to help the people that I love, to help them, better because I'll be more equipped. But I didn't have that ideology at the time. So it was more like I was just a channel through which I just wanted them to be okay. And so as I was earning, I was spreading. I was earning, I was spreading. So I didn't really pay attention to myself, to my own heartbeat until later on in life. So I would say that I had a very rough beginning, but all of it has added up to me being the woman that I am today.
There's something came to mind as you were speaking. I was thinking of how that journey, how you started. How do you think that has shaped who you are today? So it's from everything you've described. There's a lot of struggle. You had to grow up very quick. You had to become a breadwinner very quick. You had to be independent and strong very quick. Probably a part of your childhood and your teenage years as well. I'm assuming you had to literally become an adult quickly. The teenage years didn't linger too long. You had to grow up and be in your 20s when you were like 15 or 16. How do you think that shaped the woman you are today?
It did because, like I said, it made me grow faster. Right. So, yeah, I
Mm.
might have missed out on some things in the young years, some things I wish I went to university to get into the hostel, to stay with other girls, and do life together, and just be taken care of. Right. But none of those happened. I was busy taking care of people, taking care of my family, my parents, my younger ones, and all of that. But it also helped me in a way to be independent, like you said. And so I could easily make decisions. In some areas, when it came to food before, I'm very bad with food, even till now, actually. So
Good.
the thing with food is don't ask me like, okay, what do you want to eat? Oh, that's like the toughest question for me. Like, why do you have to ask me? Just give me food. Anything you give me, I will eat. But the moment you ask me, my brain goes into this, okay, 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 what do I feel like? And that could take forever. Like I could literally take forever to decide what I want to eat. But if there's food, I eat. Do you get? So in
Mm.
that area, I don't decide quick. But then when it comes to life decisions, I am quick to explore. Because I've been independent for a very long time, I'm quick to explore. I'm quick to try things out to say, let's see. If an idea comes to me, I'm not the one that shies away from it. Like, okay, let's see. If it works, fine. If it doesn't, we learn and we move on. Right. So I think being independent early in life is actually helping in that sense that I'm able to make decisions. And I've now grown over the years to actually be independent of my decisions as well. To say that
Wow.
when I take a decision, if it turns sour, I'm like, wow, that wasn't a good decision. But what did we learn from that? Yeah, it's a decision, and we are we, we are us. What did we learn from that? Okay. Oh, this was a good decision. Does this make us a better person? Right? Okay. Yeah. 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 This is good. Right. So being independent earlier on in life actually helps me. It also helps me to be more aware of the things that I really truly love. Like zoning in into my talents, which is this voice thing. Like this voice thing has been my thing since I was a child. No cap. Like as I was told, some parts of my younger years I actually had to talk away, and I don't remember some of them because like I said, I've had life has really dealt me blows. So I've had some terrible things happen to me as a young child. For some, I just locked them away. Like I just want to remember them. But recently, I think before I reinvented in 2020, I had the opportunity to be in a session where I went through like a mini hypnotherapy session that took me to a specific event that kind of built a very limiting mindset and self-image about myself. And so that experience, that journey took me back to be able to redeem myself, to say, you know what happened back then cannot affect me anymore. It is in the past. It cannot affect me anymore. Whatever happened is there, is gone. I am a different person now. And that experience should not hold me down again. And for me, that was very liberating. And, it actually helped me step into this new me, this energetic being that has always been on the inside, but it just, found expression fully, authentically, and unapologetically, right? But all of that, coming in, like I've always been a voice person. Like I was told when I was younger, I was a very bold child. I'm the kind of child that will step into a place and everybody will know that there's who is that Smally? Who be that Smally when they this house and they talk like this? Who is that, right? So I've always been that person. And it has spoken through at every level. I mean, me joining the junior choir and then being, elevated to the senior choir and worship leader and band leader and lead singer, all of those things. And then from there, it morphed into me being going on to train to be an on-air personality, but I didn't really quite get interested to pursue the job as in being on radio and TV, right? But rather, I finished the training and then I went back into the academy to be a trainer myself, to be a facilitator. I guess the teaching part of me was stronger than me being in the field myself. And so I started to train. And that, I think is alluding to the fact or to the coach in me, right? After, just recently when I started to reinvent and started to dig deeper into who I am, one of my top strengths is coaching, right? And that's why, it's about time early this year, I'm like, you know what? It's time that I really, really leaned into that to then, get trained, get my certificate so that I can practice fully as a coach. So in a way, my journey so far, I mean, I was a recording artist at some point. So I have about 7 to 8 singles out there. If you check online, you see them, both original songs and covers, right? At some point, 2016, 2017, I organized concerts, like gospel concerts in Ghana, plus outreach, which we did towards the Christmas period for the less privileged around us back in Ghana, because I was living in Ghana at the time. So everything, built up around speaking, singing, just using my voice to bless lives. And I know that my voice is quite unique. At some point, I was told it sounded like a masquerade voice, but I'm glad that
No.
I did not let that break me, right? But again, it is what it is. At some point, I believed that like my voice sounded like a man's voice, like it's so rasp and thick and very manly or something. And for a while, it was like, well, that's what it is, But then now I'm like, let it be. And that's what makes it unique. If it sounds like a man's voice, let it be like that. So everybody will
Okay.
listen. Like when they hear me,
All
they'll be
right.
like, who
I'm
is that
gonna
man?
tell you now. It doesn't sound like a man's voice. There is a raspness, yes, but it's a richness, and it's your voice. And as you say, it's unique. Everyone's voice is unique. I wanted to touch on
Absolutely.
something you said before we move on to the next question. You mentioned about, and you're the second person that's mentioned this, which is making me very curious about this, by the way, hypnotherapy and how sometimes there's a childhood trauma. Most of us have trauma. I
Yeah,
think
I'm telling you,
really,
we
I
are
don't think a
walking
person
from
can
this.
go through this life without some trauma or something, one way or the other. And it's
Yeah.
regardless of the circumstances of your birth. You can be born into a rich family or even without silver spoon, but yet everyone has trauma. And a friend of mine also mentioned how she went through a therapy session and she did this
Mm.
where she actually went back to a specific point where someone that she loves and trusted made a very demeaning comment
It
to
is
her
state.
about something wealth, so that's to do with money. Until
Mm-hmm.
today is affected our relationship with money. So that is something that on the side, I think I'm going to actually explore further. But would
Mm.
you like to touch a little bit on that hypnotherapy and what you think it did for your therapy generally? What you think therapy has done for you
So,
as a person?
so I think I'll still get to a point where I would go fully for a session, like for a full session of hypnotherapy, so that I can really, really dig deep and trash some dirt that I've just covered up, right? But so far, I'm grateful to what coaching is doing for me, personal coaching and even having other people to coach me. That has helped me to unpack some things. For the longest time, I didn't realize how much of damage has been done to my mindset. So it felt like a pile of debris on top of each other. And so it has become a whole mountain of, a whole heap of mind dirt. That's what I'll call it, right? So in my journey of reinventing myself, of knowing myself, of digging deeper, is being like taking them layer after layer after layer, right? So, but this particular incident, but this particular therapy session took me to a particular, I cannot forget, like I can still remember vividly the journey that I took. And it was a virtual session. So imagine if I was in the room with this person. How deeper would it have been? It was a virtual session, it was a group session, it was a group program. So we didn't have enough time. So it was just like in a matter of like 10 to 20 minutes session, but still it did something very significant for me. So imagine if I then probably register for a full hypnotherapy session. I think I'm going to, dig a lot, but I'm grateful for the journey that I've been on, to the point of self-awareness, to knowing some of these things as I go through my journey. But that experience really took me to a particular incident in the past, an interpretation that I gave to that incident that has now gave me a wrong image of who I am, or of what I consider myself to be, or of how I consider myself to show up in life. And so going through that experience helped me go back there and then align and agree that that incident does not have any power over me anymore. That happened. Whatever happened has happened. I have learned from it. This person, the incident, everything is now in my past and should remain there. And so I was able to remove myself from that incident. Like, nope, you have no power over me anymore. I am now so elevated, so high above, that you have no power over me anymore. I can't see you. You can't touch me. You can't hurt me. And you can't keep me limited. And that was so freeing and liberating. So it's such a beautiful experience. And like I said, I still look forward to exploring it deeper as I grow and go in my journey.
Yeah, definitely. I was still talking recently about the importance of therapy, and how in the Black community is something that it needs to be more accessible for a lot of
Yeah.
people. There are a lot of people with trauma, a lot of people don't have the tools because they've not been exposed. There's a lot of stigma around therapy and seeking help still, which is it's not beneficial in any way. Well, I'm glad that it's starting to be in the conversations. Podcasters like us, people out there online, people are there opening up more about the importance of therapy. So I think it's something that we can't shy away from.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the voice. Let's go straight to the thing that you say is your calling. What is our voice? Like, is it a tone of voice, like what we speak with, or our essence as a person? What is our voice?
It's a combination of both. So we have the literal voice and the implied voice. Your literal voice is this vibration that comes out of your mouth that makes the sound that I can hear, that you can hear. That's our literal voice. But then we have the implied voice, which is your message, your essence, who you are, what you stand for, what you believe, or how you're showing up in life. And I'm a firm believer that our voices are meant for impact, and I dare say positive impact. Of course, there are people who would choose the other route, but I am an advocate for positive impact using your literal voice and your implied voice. Now, like I said, your literal voice is, this one that we hear, and it is easy for people to shut down the totality of their voice based on their literal voice. Like, I don't like the way I sound. I sound somehow. My voice is shaking. My voice is not good. My voice is not. And because of that, even the implied voice that you have, which is your message, which is the experiences that you've garnered and the life lessons that you've learned from those experiences that you can pass on to other people, to the next generation, you are stopping yourself from using it, from serving with it because of your literal voice. And so that's why I'm an advocate for come. Whether you sound like this, like you're using your nose to talk, or you sound like this, and you're sounding like a frog, it's okay. The same idea behind us not having the same shape of face, not having the same size of nose, not having the same fingerprint, tongue print, or pupil is the same reason we all cannot sound the same. Imagine if we all the same and everybody is just going like this. It sounds like robots. This life will not be fun. All right. So it's about time that we all came to that place where we own our voice. And then once you own it, that yes, this is my voice, this is what it's about, this is how I sound. Okay, if I'm not comfortable with the tone of it. What can I do about it? And then you can begin the journey of honing it, honing your voice, saying, okay, what exactly makes you cringe when you hear your voice? You know, for everyone, we've gone through it, for everyone who is on this journey of using their voices, the very first time you record yourself and you listen back to the record, you're like, ew, what? So the only way you become familiar with that voice that other people is hearing is when you record it and you play back to yourself. Now, when you do that, of course, the first time you will cringe. I've heard people say it, I don't like listening to my recording. I don't even like going back to it. It's fine. But if you really want to then make it better, if you want to sound better, if you want to grow, if you want to develop this voice of yours, then you have to come to terms with it and listen. Listen to yourself. Listen to it objectively. Listen to it as if it was somebody else you were listening to. And then listen and say, okay, what exactly about this sound is making me cringe? Is it the way I pronounce words? Is it the way I stutter when I speak? Is it the way that I mumble my words? Maybe I don't open my mouth to speak. I know people who don't open their mouths to speak. Is that it? Is it the way that I pronounce? Is it the way that I enunciate? Is it the way that is it the mannerisms? Are there too many mannerisms in my words? Some people cannot make a short sentence without putting like, in all of those filler words. What exactly is making you feel uncomfortable? If you can listen to it objectively, then you can begin to remove them. You can begin to work towards, okay, if it's too much mannerism, what can I do about it? I mean, there are too many thousands of resources out there that you can listen to, that you can watch, that you can practice to ensure that you reduce the number of mannerism in your words. And I can promise you, with more practice, daily practice, conscious practice, intentional practice, you will only get better. I've been speaking for almost all my life. And so when I open the mic and I start to speak and I go pa 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 pa, it's looking like, man, she does it so easily. She's so good. Of course, because I have put in the reps over the years. And you can as well. And so that's why I'm an advocate for, okay, start where you are and then understand what is making you feel somehow. Is it the way that your voice sounds? You can work on it. I promise you. You can, if your voice is too thin, there are things you can do to make it a little bit richer. If your voice is too deep, there are ways you can speak to make it a little bit thinner. So there are ways to go around it. But first, you need to know what is so that you can improve on what is.
That's amazing. And I would like you to give us examples of some of these tools so that I can share it to our listeners. But still staying on the literal voice, I think I want to touch on accent. Now, I think for a lot of us, what we classify as a good speaking voice is either an American accent or a British accent. And literally, that is so wrong. And that is just ridiculous because there's different ways of speaking. As long as, like you say, enunciate your words, you pronounce it clearly, people understand what you're saying, we still have to keep our uniqueness. And that's what makes us who we are as like Africans. So there's so many ways of expressing oneself, right? And I don't think one particular voice should be the model voice. Well, I think growing up subconsciously, we've told ourselves that this is how a great speaking voice should be like. Do you know what I mean? So what would you say about that?
I do. I mean, even when you go for trainings, back then, if you go for FRCN, there are ways that you are told to pronounce words and to, so there's diction, there is oral English and all of those things. But the truth is, at the end of the day, the bottom line is, like you said, enunciation, pronunciation, and clarity all together bringing about communication. If you like, have all the accents in the world. If nobody can hear what you're saying, then what's the point of you saying anything you're saying?
Exactly.
The point is, can your audience understand you? We have seen people who have their English is so badamba. It's better than bad. But when they are speaking with their crooked language, because it's not even English, maybe because they are not English is not their first language, and so they just struggle through to just speak it somehow, you will still hear what they are saying because they are communicating. So I think we overemphasize it too much. For Africans, is a thing that we picked up early, just mimicking the Western world, trying to make them a standard. And this thing, I think, is more, even with Africa, is more pronounced in Nigeria than in other African countries. If you go to Ghana, for example, on national radio, as you have a conversation like this now, they don't send you If anything pops, they are switching to tree in the middle of the conversation. Like I'm talking to you now, Tony, and saying, imagine if I like animal. And so no interpretation whatsoever. And you are like, what just happened? I was enjoying this conversation. Why did you people throw me? But that's to tell you how much they cherish their
Their language.
local dialect. But it's not the same in
Dialect, yeah.
Nigeria. In Nigeria, you'll be in an English, like it's very straight cut. If it's English speaking radio station, it is English speaking. You can't code switch. Do you get? So if you are in an English speaking and you do mistake and speak pidgin, you'll be penalized. And I think that started even from class, when we're in school, if you
Oh
speak
yeah.
vernacular,
Oh
you
yeah.
pay fine, your name will be written in the name of vernacular speakers. So everybody started to push towards just trying to speak English. And so again, it's not even the best for us as a people because now our languages are gradually dying. If nothing is done to it, none of us will speak our languages anymore. There are families like we just know that we are from Delta State, but one single language like this we can't speak, which is not good. It's not good, right? So I think as Nigerians, we need to start to pay attention again and so that we can pass on the culture to the next generation. Yes, it's good to speak good English. After all, you paid to go to school so that you can speak well. I'll be fine. But don't forget your language. Don't forget your language, right? So it's not about accent, it's about clarity. Can people hear what
Absolutely.
you have to say? So
Mm-hmm.
even when you're doing phonics, diction, it's still about people hearing what you have to say. And I mean, the diction, the thing with diction is people think if you hear somebody who is very diction focused, right? You would think they are forming an accent. No, they are just pronouncing the word the way it should be according to the diction of the language that they're trying to use. And it comes off as because I mean, if you're using the British curriculum, of course you pronounce the words in British way. If you're using the American curriculum, you pronounce right. So for some of us that did not do all this straight cut diction, we mix everything together, but at least you can hear what I'm saying. So if I come to my Nigerian English
Absolutely.
now, you will hear what I'm saying by fire, by thunder.
The main thing is communication is happening. People are
Absolutely.
understanding. Let's move on to the other type of voice. So you've talked about the literal voice. So what's the second type of voice?
Implied voice, which is your message. And this one is your essence. Why do you exist? Why are you here? Or what comes to mind when people think about you? What is your message? So I am very impact driven. And whether I'm showing up as a coach for podcasters or as a coach for women, I'm very impact driven. At the end or at the center of everything I do is to help you impact other people, starting from yourself positively, right? So your implied voice is your message, really. What's your message for the world? My message when it comes to voice is that you have a voice and your voice is meant for impact. So, what I position to help you do is to help you use that voice for impact, influence, and income. Why? Because when you use your voice for impact, you're basically putting together your whole experiences with the experiences of others around you, putting it together to create a message, a lesson, an ideology that you want to push to the people. And then when you do that, it gets them thinking as well. And in that way, if it gets them thinking and possibly gets them taking action based on what you've said, you have impacted them positively and you have influenced their action, right? And what does that mean? If you do that enough, you are then able to package something that people can exchange value for you for, which is where the income comes in. All right. But
Mm.
all starting from you using your voice. So let's say, for example, you want to become a podcaster. Why do you want a podcast? What is your message? What do you want to tell to the world? I am host of Stretch Street podcast. Tony is host of Mommies and Thriving podcast. What is our message? My message on Stretch Street podcast is to let you know or to remind you that challenges are not exclusive to any of us. We all go through them. But when we assume the posture of learning and asking ourselves, why did this challenge happen to me? Not in the point of view of saying, oh, why did this happen to me as a victim, but why did it come? What is it here to teach me? Then you begin to pay attention. You might not really get it why you're in the middle of it, because most times when we're in the middle of, hard times, it's like our head is everywhere. But in retrospect, you're able to distill the lessons that this challenge that I went through, what did it teach me? with that lesson now, you can carry it forward and share. So let's say, for example, you've gone through a very, very, very bad experience with wrong investment, and then you're able to distill the errors you made. And then you package those errors into a message and you begin to share it. What happens? People begin to see you as an expert in that field if you share it enough. People begin to say, oh, that's true. I should not do this. So when it comes to investment, I should not use all my savings, everything I have to go and invest. No, that's not how to invest. Right? You begin to learn from this person because they keep sharing, something about that specific area. And when you're able to learn from them, you see them as an authority. If you hear them enough, they influence how you then begin to channel your own finances and think about investment. In that sense, they've influenced you. And let me tell you something. If they put together and say, you know what, I have prepared this 5-step framework for you, or 5-step no failure proof investment program that would help you, start your investment even with a small part of your savings, so that your money can begin to work for you. I kid you not, if you've listened to them enough, if you've tried out anything they said and it works for you, it is easy for you to pay them to get that 5-step framework, which is where the income comes in. So if one person can do it, all of us can. It is only a matter of time and consistency and clarity and focus. So over the years, so for some people, it might take immediately. For some, it might take longer, but it's about you knowing that this is the journey I want to go on. This is what I want to talk about. This is how I want my message to influence other people. And this is the end goal for me. And you stick to it. It's only a matter of time. Do you see? So for me, for example, I started off, podcasting at some point. I mean, I've been doing a lot of voicing thing. I create audiobooks for African authors. I do voiceovers and all of that. But I started to train people in, starting their podcast, helping them with the technical part of it, and also helping them with consistently keeping up with their podcast. And so I have a community of people in that region who wants to use their voices, right? So when I keep, serving them and sharing my own experiences with them, it puts me in a place of authority. Most of them call me coach now. So when I put out a program and say, okay, I want to do this, this is the price to it, the people who can afford it will jump on it, pay me without, having any issue. Do you see the relationship now? You grow impact, you grow influence, and definitely your income follows.
Thank you so much for sharing that. My next question is, for a lot of people, you mentioned how you started, and you mentioned one of your strengths is actually you're not afraid to try something new. And if it works, fine. If it doesn't, well, what lesson have I learned from it? That is actually difficult for a lot of people. And I say that from experience, personal experience, but even just speaking to friends, speaking to a lot of moms. So imagine a lot of us 30s, 40s, even 50s, not wanting to look weak, not wanting to be in a situation where you're vulnerable, not wanting to be in a situation where you're not comfortable. So because of that, a lot of people don't try things. So we don't tend to use this voice you're talking about. Let's just create a character, person, a mom, 30s, 40s, used to just, maybe she's a stay-at-home mom, or maybe she's not used to putting herself out there. How can she muster that courage to discover her voice and use it?
I mean, I really resonate with that. And it is funny you ask that question because as a coach, like I said, that I'm just leaning into now, these are my target audience. The women, especially the ones in their 40s, the ones who have lived their life, just suppressing everything that they want to do, suppressing their dreams and just putting it at the back. I would do it when my first son finished school. And then the second one came, the third one came, the fourth one came. Okay, when the last baby boy or baby girl goes to school, I would come and visit. And that's how you've pushed it backwards and backwards. And now you're here and you're wondering, hey, what have I been doing with my life? You're not happy. There is this dissatisfaction. I mean, the funny thing again is for some of these people, they're actually doing well, maybe with their career or with their job, even when it is not their first choice in life. But they've done it, they've focused on this, and that is the reason why you should even know that if you imagine you picked this thing that wasn't picked by you, maybe it was picked by your parents. Okay, so they wanted you to be a doctor, a lawyer, or something, and you actually did, and you succeeded at it. This is something that is not at the core of you. You succeeded at it. What gives you the impression that you will not do exceptionally well in the one that is at the core of your heart? And this is what I'm advocating for. And there is also something that I recently came into to say that, see, even when we It's okay. You can choose based on what you were guided at the time by parents or by friends or by mentors, and you're doing well. But the reason you are feeling that dissatisfaction or that sense of discomfort is because you're not expressing the core of who you are. And people are so stuck up on the idea of this or that. It can be this and that. It can. So who says that that thing that is calling to you, you have to abandon everything you have worked for to focus on it? No. And that's where the fear comes in, because a lot of people are now thinking, all these years, all these things that I've worked on, how am I going to now leave everything and now start all over again? What will people say? Those are the questions, those are the things that are stopping people from taking action, from unleashing this message that is in your heart, that your voice is fighting to release. But you're like, hey, if I start to say this thing now, won't people say I'm confused? Says who? I mean, I remember I was in a coaching.
Even if they do, how is it our problem what
How
they
is
think?
it? Exactly. They are not the one that will come and feed you. They are not the one that have sustained you till now. So why are you bothering about what they think? Right? But the funny thing is, you can still maintain whatever it is you've done because you worked for it. You worked for it. You made it work up until this time, right? But that dissatisfaction you're feeling is something deeper that is calling to you. And you can feed it as well. And the combination of those, that's thing is more like you are lubricating your heart's engine plus the thing you've built skill over the years. Do you see what I mean? And it just brings everything together and makes you have a richer life. There's a quadrant, I learned in one of the coaching programs I attended with DDK, is the quadrant of, okay, benevolence, impact, spirituality, and wealth, right? Something of sorts. So that means that when you want to lubricate and feel whole, yes, your impact can be the area that you're currently good at, which is the one you've built experience over the years. So it has become a skill, even if it's not something you're passionate about. It has become a skill. You are now good at it because you put in the rep over the years. But your benevolence could be the area where your dream can find expression. You can begin to share your experience. You can begin to, you've been through a lot. Even if you wanted to link it to what you're currently doing, there are people that are just coming into that space that can learn a lot from you, that can glean a lot of wisdom from you. So begin to think in that sense. Don't think of, so I will now have to start all over, or, please stop thinking about what people say. And ask yourself, if God calls you today, what is that one thing that you regret that you've not done? If it is that thing that is at your heart that is making you feel like, do it. Speak up. Speak out. Okay, ask yourself, who is one person that can benefit if I share this message? Who is one person that will benefit if I share this story? Is there one person? Try and find. If you can find one person, it's enough. I'm a believer. And I believe that, if I was the only one on earth that needed salvation, Jesus would have still come to die for me. So in that same way, if it's only one person that needs to hear the story of Energetic E.J, to change their mind, to see life in a different perspective so that they can push and leave an indelible mark in life before they leave, before they transition to the next phase of our eternity, then I have accomplished my job. But guess what? There cannot be only one person. But if I can speak to that one person, I know that there are multiples of that one person all around the world. And so I get to speak to them, but I'm focusing on one person per time. So you to do the same thing. Stop thinking about what people say. Ask yourself, who is going to suffer if I don't share this story? No, look at it now. If you think about it too, somebody shared their story. Somebody shared their knowledge. And that's how come you learned to be the person that you are today. That's how come you learned to experience life or to avoid a certain mistake that you might have fallen into because somebody shared their story. So who else is going to fall into a pit because you're keeping quiet? Who else is going to lose their way because you didn't share your own story? You might say to yourself, everybody is talking about this thing now. Let me tell you something. Everybody might be speaking, but not everybody would hear what they are saying. There are people who would not capture a concept until they hear you in particular. Yes, you watching this right now. There's somebody that will not get the concept until you say it because they connect with you better. And that is the reason why you shouldn't be afraid to use your voice, because You are afraid. You are saying to yourself, everybody is podcasting now. Everybody is speaking now. Everybody is doing this now. That's a lie. Not everybody. We are over 8 billion on the surface of the earth. And whoever is everybody that you're thinking of right now, they have not even reached 1/4 of those people. So we are not too much. We can never be too much. What do you mean? As we are growing, other people are coming up. Look at the top of the echelon in any industry. Let me use my industry like coaching and speaking. Look at Tony Robbins, Lisa Nichols, Brene Brown. Can I reach them? Can I
Yeah.
message them one-on-one now? No.
No.
One-on-one. Yes, I can learn from them from far. But are there people that are doing almost the same thing that I can reach out to right now? Yes, I can reach out to DDK. She's closer to me than Brene Brown is. Do you see what I mean now? She's closer to me. I can reach Tombra. I can reach Temi Ajibewa. They are coaches as well. And I can connect easily, or the tendency of me reaching them one-on-one without having to break the bank is easier than if I'm waiting to gather all my coins together to go and pay $10,000 to be in John Maxwell's session, or to be in Tony Robbins' session, or to be in. But you get what I mean? But I can gather the coins that I have right now, and I can probably sign up for Temi Ajibewa's program, or I can sign up for DDK's program. Do you see what I mean now? So it's the same way.
Yeah.
There are people, they see you, all these people that you're saying, but this one is doing it, this one is doing it. All the other people that are below might not be able to reach them, but they can reach you, which is why you should position too, so that you can be the level that they first of all get to before then they can then aspire to get higher. And that's how it is. It is just like that. We all have the different levels. And so even in growing, there are levels we can get to. And as we build, yes, at some point you're going to build past the level you are right now, and you'll be able to reach for higher. But again, as they are growing older, they are transitioning. And who is going to take over? You. But if you don't start now, what will happen?
So how can we muster up that courage and take those first steps? What would practical steps look like?
Practical step will look like you. Yeah. First of all, clarifying, what you want to do. And then maybe sit down and look at people who are doing what you want to do right now. Who are the ones that you can easily connect with? Because sometimes it's not like we don't know what to do. We know. Our God tells us all the time. But sometimes we're waiting for validation. Sometimes we are afraid, not even of failure, even of success. Like, if I do this thing and I go and blow, hey, everybody will not be looking at me. Hey, they will not be interviewing me everywhere. Hey. That's when village people now will not come and be asking me for money. Do you know that people have that come?
They don't. So people don't know what we mean by village people.
So the fear of success is more like, and if I get successful, that means a lot of people will then start looking up to me. People will start coming to me for help. Am I going to be able to handle that? I don't like that kind of attention. And so you shut yourself down. Yeah. So while some are afraid of failing, like, what if I try and it doesn't work? People are going to laugh at me and say I failed. Other people are worried, like, actually, I can do this. But if I do it, then the expectation on me will be high. People will start to place me on a pedestal, and I don't want that. And then they shut themselves down. So the first thing is sometimes you might need an external factor to help you see some of these things, to help you see some of the blind spots, to help you see some of the anchors that are holding you down without your permission. And then to help you on anchor from those and change your anchors and look at it from a place of purpose and impact. Knowing that, yes, you can be successful, and yes, people would hold you to a higher level of expectation. But at the end of the day, again, is not just about you, and you are not trying to impress anyone. You're just living your life. So the way that your journey would go is not because you want to impress anybody. It's not because you want anybody to place you on a high pedestal, but because you as a person wants to have a better life, a richer life, a life that is actually worth emulating or modeling after. So it is you still working your own journey, but making it a part of your life and being authentic in that journey. So it's not you trying to place yourself in any pedestal. So by the time you come to that settlement, it becomes easier for you to just enter into your power, seamlessly. Of course, there will be the challenges there, but that, say, this is something that I'm called to do. When a king puts their stamp on you and they give you like a title, it's no longer just about you. You do your assignment because of the king. You deliver the assignment based on the king, not just because of the people. If they praise you and if the king says you do this, you do what the king says you should do. The reaction of the people is no longer just yours to handle, because you can always go back and report to the king and say, King, you asked me to do this. I've done it. Why are the people? And the king can then, give you all the support you need at the time. In the same way, your creator is your king. He has placed this thing in you. And so he has provision for you to be able to handle it. So, first of all, ask yourself, what is this message that is calling at me? Define it, write it down, journal about it, feel it, try to experience it, try to understand it. You might not understand it in its totality, but try to make sense out of it. What is this thing that I'm feeling? What is this discomfort that I'm feeling? Ask yourself questions. And that's why, for example, I created this assessment that would help these women that I want to serve, to just help them ask questions. For some of you, it is just one or two ideas that you've nurtured since you were a child, like dreams. When you were younger, you wrote it down in your journal that you were going to do this, but you've not done anything with it. And so it is lying somewhere in your subconscious and calling out your name. And now you're finding it, you just feel like, I have a good job. My family is okay. Why am I feeling this discomfort? It is those things that you wrote that is calling out. They are dreams. They want to find expression. And so they are calling at you, but you're not listening, you're not hearing, because there's just a lot now. So if you sit down and ask yourself those questions, what is this thing I'm feeling? Why am I feeling this way? What is that thing? There are simple questions like, what is the thing that when I hear, it gets me all the time? It triggers me. Is it that it makes me angry, or it inspires me, or I just want to talk about it, or I want to do something about it? So maybe when you see young girls living recklessly, it pinches you so much. You feel like, can't they see that they are wasting their lives? They can't see. That's why they need you to tell them. There is a passion with which you will tell it, that it will sync with them. You probably have an experience, or you have a story that can buttress, helping them see that the lane that they are on is leading to destruction. You have it. That's why it pinches you in your body. So it's just about you sitting down with yourself, say, why does this bother me so much? What is the story here? What have I seen? What have I experienced? What story have I heard? Or why? Why is it important to me? Do you see? So when you're able to distill that, then you can ask, okay, what are the technicalities of it? What actions can I take today that will get me closer to helping this set of people to see what I want them to see? And it could be as simple as even just starting a blog, or creating a channel, or a YouTube channel, an Instagram, or a podcast talking about these topics, and then spreading the word for people to begin to see. Sometimes somebody will hear, I'm like, wow, I never thought of it that way before. Yes. You will be shocked at the things that you're thinking that nobody else has thought of it in the light that you're thinking about it. But the moment you voice it out, you begin to call people's awareness to that same thought. And then it becomes easier for them to see reasons for them to change their ways or improve their ways because of your perspective. And so, yeah, first of all, clarify it. Like, okay, why is this thing bothering me? What are the next steps? How can I start? Where do I start from? I always say start small. Start where you are, start with what you have, and then grow as you go.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing that. And, there's something you said that really, really resonated with me about the uniqueness of our voice, just like with our fingerprints as well, how we're very unique. There's a way a person would share a message that would resonate with someone else better than a so-called celebrity, for example. What came to mind was, I remember when, this was in 2000, when everyone was going on about opera. I love opera, but there was a lady she brought on called Iyanla Vanzant. Iyanla Vanzant. A lot of people don't know Iyanla Vanzant, but oh, you know her. And listen.
Oh my God, that
even
woman.
though I listen to opera, when I listen to Iyanla, for some reason, I connected with her on a deeper level. She's not as popular as opera, and a lot of people don't know her. But there's a richness, there's a spirituality.
Yes.
There's an essence
she's
with
deep.
her that, for me, I was like, wow, okay. And so just using that example, it emphasizes your point, where don't say because someone else is doing it, or maybe I shouldn't do it. If it's something that it's something that is aligned with your passion and your purpose, then do it, because you may just have that je ne sais quoi, that sprinkle that someone else would be able to relate to. Let's talk about how can we let go of pain that prevents us from moving forward. So now we've discovered that, okay, this is something we want to do. We've started taking practical steps. We've even got a coach. We've contacted someone like yourself. We're trying to make progress. But then there are all this baggage sometimes that we have. There's the pain, there is obviously the fear, but I think sometimes the pain is literally, it holds us, it's like a weight, it holds us back from moving forward. How
I
does one
know.
begin to learn from this pain? Because sometimes this pain is not going anywhere because you still feel it once in a while. So how do we begin to move forward with the pain?
Pain is an emotion. It's us understanding what the emotion is there to do at the time and leveraging it, understanding it and responding to it, not reacting to it, right? So it's a journey. They will never get to a point where you'll be like, now I don't have to deal with any emotions anymore. No. So the earlier we begin to understand that our emotions are here, they are with us, they're not going anywhere, but they're there as signals, as signs, either to warn us or to tell us that, or to draw our attention to something that we need to work on, right? So when it comes to the pain of the past, it's first of all acceptance. It's more like how to deal with grief, right? First of all, you live in denial, and then you are angry, and then you want to like shut down, and then you accept, and then you surrender, right? It's the same. So again, we just need to understand that they are going to be with us forever. So it's about resolving them per season of our lives. So when you say, because of the pain, this pain is holding me down, you need to then sit with the pain and say, okay, why is this holding me down? Why am I stuck up on this? What exactly is the reason? For some of us, is that we probably did not find resolve with that pain, with whatever was the source of the pain. We didn't find resolve, we didn't find closure, but we need to come to terms with it. We need to agree and say, okay, fine, this has happened. What did I learn from it? What did it teach me? What would I do differently so that this doesn't happen again in the future? Come in terms with all of those and just then let it go. Let it go. Because if you hold on to it, just like you said, it's going to keep holding you down. It's like an anchor. You don't want to deck in that harbor. No, you need to be sailing to the higher version of who you are, sailing to your next level. So you don't want unnecessary anchors holding you down. So you need to resolve yourself. You need to go back to that place. And I think, again, this is where if you've done all you can to get free from that pain and it's not going away and it's not letting you go and you're not letting it go, then maybe it calls for higher intervention, which is where hypnotherapy can come in again, where we really, really go deep down, take you back into that place and let you know that, see, it has happened. There's nothing you can do about it. Nothing is going to change. But you can change the next level of your life by letting it go and picking the lessons you need to learn from it, letting that, add richness to your life and knowing that I'm not going to make this mistake again. I'm not going to do this again so that I don't get to this place again. And then you can keep your sails going. So dealing with pain, it's ever going to be there. Please don't run away from it. Pain is part of our lives. Haven't you noticed that most of the times, the decisions you make when in pain, in the right direction, they're always based on conviction, because the pain would allow you to think and say, man, I don't want to experience this again. What do I do
That's
so that
true.
I don't experience
That
this
is
again?
true.
Do you understand? So, but some
Yeah.
people now take it from a place of fear. It's like, no, I will not experience this again. No, don't do it from the place of fear. Do it from a place of faith. To say, I do not like this experience. I don't like how this made me feel. I don't want to experience it again. What do I need to do? What kind of person do I need to become so that I don't experience it again? Because sometimes it's not just about what we do, it's about who we are. And so when we don't change who we are, when we don't resolve to say, I am not the kind of person who does this, then we might go back to it Haven't you noticed that most of the times, as we grow up now, as we are becoming parents, there were things our parents did. They're like, never. I don't want to be like my parents. I don't want to be like my parents. Watch yourself. You are like split image of them now. Because you don't want to be them. You don't want to be them. And that's because our mind does not understand what don't is. So what your mind is saying every time is, I don't want to be them, is I want to be them. I want to be them, right? So when you decide and say, wow, this is what they did I don't like, you begin to profess and tell yourself what you want until you become it. Joyce Meyer said one time, even after she had started her ministry, she was still smoking. But then instead of her saying, I don't want to smoke again, I want to stop smoking, she said, I don't smoke. I don't smoke. And she will still carry her stick and drag it. And she's like, I don't smoke. I don't smoke. I don't smoke. I don't smoke, until one morning she picked up the cigarette and she's like, but I don't smoke. And that was the end.
Wow, that is powerful. It's just, sometimes it's the simple things. Sometimes we don't need to overcomplicate it. It's those positive affirmative words, not the negative don'ts. Just who you are as a person. I do not smoke. Instead of saying I don't want to smoke, I do not, because my person, my brain, my chi, my head, whatever it's called, my essence doesn't want to smoke anymore. Wow, I've never looked at it that way, but thanks for sharing. That is so true. That is so true. Energetic E.J. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for blessing us today. Tell us about Stretch Street Podcast as we close. Just tell us about what you're doing. Give us more information about what you're doing.
All right, Stretch Street. I know it's a mouthful, it's a tongue twister, but that is why you should remember it. Like, what is that name again? Stretch Street? Yes, it is Stretch Street because life is a street. And on this street of life, we keep being stretched to our limits. And sometimes we snap, but most times we find ourselves bouncing back because that is who we are as humans. We have such resilient spirit if we allow ourselves grow into it, if we allow ourselves to be stretched and strengthened through those stretches. So Stretch Street basically documents the stretch stories, talking to people who have been through tough times but have found their ways navigating through those tough times. And the end goal is to distill the life lessons that they have learned from those experiences so that when you hear them, you can adapt to them and say, if this person went through this and came out, whatever it is I'm going through, I can go through it and come out. And so some of the lessons that they share, you're able to apply to your own life to make your own experience richer. And personally, I have enjoyed the journey. I have heard so many stories. I've spoken to people from all over the world. I think almost all the 7 continents of the world now, only Antarctica, maybe North America. I'm hoping I'll get somebody from those places soon. But I've been able to speak to different people from different parts of the world, which actually buttresses the fact that the human spirit in its core, we are one. We're the same. We all bleed red. We all go through challenges and we all learn from the challenges. And when we're able to distill the lessons from this somewhat so-called terrible experiences, we become better as people. We become more valuable. Because when you're showing up and telling people about the things that you've been through that almost broke you, that almost destroyed your life, but then you found a way around it to still build something meaningful out of life, you're helping somebody else. You become more valuable because people like see you're like, wow, you went through all of that and you're still standing. Somebody who is going through just a little bit of that to be like, man, I can't give up now. No. If this person can go through this and still survive, then I have the strength to go through whatever it is I'm going through and I can't survive. What have you done? You have inspired, you have given hope, and you have added value to that person's life. So that's what Stretch Street is all about. And yes, you can find us everywhere online, listening platforms. We're on YouTube. We're on Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcasts, Teacher, Breaker, Hyatt Radio, Amazon Music, Audible. We're everywhere. Look for us at Stretch Street Podcast.
Wow, thank you so much for joining us today. We normally conclude our podcast by asking 3 questions. And so I would start the sentence and you just have to finish it with whatever holds true for you. Being a mom has done what for you? What has being a mom done for you?
Giving me an opportunity to be responsible for another human being. I mean, I've always been responsible for other human beings, but this one is special, like an extension of me.
Oh, When do you feel the happiest?
When I'm able to impact lives. When somebody comes and say, EJ, thank you so much for what you shared. It changed me, or it really, really resonates with me. I'm like, God, thank you, God.
If you could tell 5-year-old EJ something, that little girl, what would you tell her?
Baby girl, you are enough. You are so, 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 so special. And just be you unapologetically, authentically, because there is no other person like you. Like you're the only you that exists. So own it and flex it.
Amazing. As you were sharing that, I was trying to imagine how 5-year-old EJ was.
I know, everywhere. I've been laughing like this since I was a child. That I can remember. I've always like, always laughing.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? We need joy in our life, honestly, and we should never let go of the laughter, no matter how stressful
Absolutely.
it gets. We should hang on to the laughter. Thank you so much,
Thank you for
EJ.
having
We
me. Thank you for
appreciate
having me
you.
on the show. Thank you.